Okay, so welcome everyone to this episode of Friday Bio. So today I'm really privileged to have a friend join me that uh, has quite a strong connection to my Arabian exploits and visits to the Middle East. And before I go too far, I'd like to ask Ahmad to introduce himself and just say where he's living at the moment, and then we'll jump straight into the 5 questions for this week.
Thank you, Greg. Good evening to you. Good morning to the others who have other time zone. My name is Ahmad Rajab. I'm engineering manager in specialized oil and gas engineering company based in Khubar, in Saudi Arabia. I have more than 14 years of experience, 14 to 15 years of experience in CP. Um, uh, I know you since long time, basically.
We'll get into those details soon.
Yeah. And I'm graduated from a university in Lebanon called Beirut Arab University as communication and electronics engineer. Not related to the CP,
Wonderful.
but somehow the paths will cross.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you for that brief introduction, Ahmed. So my first question to you is, where and when did we meet?
This goes back to 2009. I was a fresher CP engineer, and I attended the first CP2 course, basically, and you were my instructor.
Wow.
You were another instructor in the MAM. The first time we met was the first day in the CP2 course in 2009, where you introduced yourself. And since then, I was following you, and basically, we have some chats on Facebook as well. And LinkedIn. Yeah,
Amazing.
it's my privilege actually to be my instructor. And look, time goes by, and we are here. We are still here.
Yeah, that's actually an incredible story, because I think over time I can forget those connections that you make with people, and when I teach, the hope is that you plant a seed in someone's life, or you leave some ideas, and they can do something better or achieve more. Or so that's really I'm so glad you've reminded me of when that happened. All I remember is the food was very good in the restaurant.
Yeah, the Middle Eastern food is good all the time, I think.
But
So,
that's I don't know how you stay so thin.
especially in that hotel, they were
Yeah,
doing a great job there. Yeah.
yeah, it was amazing. So my second question to you is, can you share a story or some part of our interaction? Because we recently crossed paths at the 18th Middle East Corrosion Conference, which was held, I think, from the 13th of November through till the 16th of November, 2023.
So yeah, in the 18th corrosion, I met you again after 14 years in Bahrain. It was a pleasure for me. I remember just when I saw you from a distance, and you told me that you still look the same. So we sat there and we have our coffee. We chatted a lot about our work. Even not even only the work. We chatted about our families, our countries, what we are passing through these days. It was really relief to me, and to you. I think to you basically to just say what's on our mind without
Yeah,
without taking any issue. Like you will understand it other way.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
really straightforward between me and you. And also when the other teams join and we start chatting about the work and other things, it was really a nice gathering there in 18 Middle East Corrosion Conference. Plus, the paper that you presented there, which is the benchmarking. It was fantastic, and hopefully other people can notice what you did in that paper to elaborate later.
I think I remember after that, I was talking to you as you finished and you walked off the stage. I loved what you shared there, because you took something with piling or on a jetty type, I don't know what exact wording you used, and the practical application of cathodic protection. All I remember is your anodes weighed something like nearly 600 kilograms. They're 563 kilograms. These are huge. So any of the listeners here, you can go and have a look and see how often you're going to get anodes that size. You even mentioned to me that these were specifically made for your project because of the size.
So yeah, the paper was discussing about the sheet piling Cathodic protection using huge aluminum anodes, which was around 640 kilogram. Imagine that, it's 3-meter anode. And the paper was discussing the way how to install those, because most of the time we are welding those anodes directly on the piling, which is a huge job, and it's time consuming, plus it's a very huge cost. So we try in this paper to simulate that you can do by bolting with a special consideration. Even some standards, they don't recommend that, which can show other alternative. Whenever you are reaching a dead ends, you can find a technical or engineering solution that can fit the purpose at the end of the day. So this paper is already published, and people can get it from NACE website, and hopefully it will provide some evidences or future, let's say, future consideration and larger projects.
Yeah, I think that's what I enjoyed about the paper, was that you presented something that is so easy to criticize, that you've installed it, you've commissioned it, and it's working. And
correct.
And I think that's so. I want to say to you, well done for doing that. When you walked off the stage, I said to you, at some point, I think we're going to publish a paper together. And you had a huge smile.
I'm also ready anytime.
But you had a huge smile on your face, and I think I share your sentiment, Ahmad. We're living in a time where we have to find people that think the same, that are trying to break ground. We've got work pressures. I think when our time together, we understood you work very long hours, often 12-hour days, maybe even longer when there's a lot of projects to be done. But to find the right people to work with is so important, and that's going to come first.
Yes.
So the next question I wanted to ask is, how did you come to be a cathodic protection specialist? So yes, I remember now 2009, you arrived there, you're a fresher, you do CP2, but now you jump forward and you go to 14 years ahead.
So, yeah, the main course that I usually do, even when I came as a fresher, I don't know anything basically about cathodic protection. I was a communication and electronics engineer, so basically when they said cathodic protection, what's this? I asked, what's this cathodic protection? Well, even in our country, they don't use this method. The country is very small, and the assets are very old. So once I reach here and start learning about cathodic protection, it triggered my mind. My information. I need to know more about this one. So I did CP2 with you. I became a certified technician. Then after 2 years directly, because I think the kind of work that we are working, you should excel in what you are doing. To excel, you need to learn more physically, and don't stop learning. Don't ever stop learning. This is my quote always. So I attended in 2011 a CP3 course with Bob Gammo in Dubai. Yeah. Yes. And at that time, even if you remember, between 2010 and 2000, let's say 13, 14, the number of certified CP specialists was, you can count them on hand, basically. In our region. So I said, okay, now I need to excel more than CP3. I need to go and attend the CP4 course. I kept around 5 years gap just to get experience from the field, just to get experience from the designs, surveys. And if you remember that the older CP4 courses was not, let's say, was not easy because there was question and you need to write an essay, handwriting. If your thoughts were not, let's say, step by step, then you will lose marks. It was straightforward.
As they say in the Middle East, you could feel halfway through your written, it was khalas, it was finished. You could feel that you were not going to make it because and some people would repeat the exam 2-3 times because they would still mark the handwritten manuscript. And for those, some of you listening in, today, CP3, CP4, the exams are all objective questions and it's scenario based. I don't think anything is written by hand anymore.
No, at that time we were writing an essay about a case study, and you need to mention everything in this one. And if you miss some test that you should do it before other tests, this you will lose your mark. Basically, you should try to figure out which the first test you will do it, then the second test, then the third test, then your conclusion about this. So basically, it was very hard. Especially in case that you are from Middle East, and there will be a language barrier in somehow. There will be always a language barrier. So in 2016, I got my CP4 certificate. Yes, and from that, I was again recognized as Aramco approved designer. Since you got your CP4, then you are. I admitted an interview with Aramco, so they approved me as their designer as well. And from that, I'm still up to now checking other things. I always read papers. I'm always focusing on papers. Read also books, corrosion books, and nowadays also for the internal corrosion and corrosion. Books as well. So just try to be the best in my field, and hopefully this will go to the other people that work under me or my colleagues as well.
That's
so
wonderful.
Whatever I have knowledge, I will share it with the other.
And I've noticed that you do that. Let me move on to the fourth question. It says, and I think you've shared some of it already, is what are you passionate about in your field of work? What really, if you had more time or if you had the resources, what would you be spending more of your time on, Ahmad?
So I believe my passion is research and development in this field, especially in Cathodic protection, because I think there's a big gap between theoretical and practical issues for this. Anyone can do a design, anyone can approve the design, but when it goes to the site and we implement this design on the site, there is some aspects that need to be developed, basically. I tried many things right now, but there is a lot to be developed. Let's start from remote monitoring using artificial intelligence and detecting something. Let's start with providing the pH probes for measuring the pH on the pipeline. Many other aspects that needs time and money to invest on those to get a good approach on how we can proceed in this field, basically. I think we discussed earlier, like even let's say the criteria that we are using. This is a whole field that we need to be developed, basically, because it was done in how many years now, and we are still using it without taking into consideration anything.
Yeah, And that's why I did that benchmarking paper, is because people forget that there's like a 44-year jump and a 10-year jump, and the acceleration over the last 10 years has been more than the preceding 44 years. But no one even notices that. And as you say, with R&D, I agree with you. I think if we understood the pH at the interface or on the pipe surface better, we would know whether we had corrosion or not, or the possibility. And a lot more, especially now with AC and DC interference, you can have environments where pH actually determines whether you've got corrosion or not. And strangely enough, I'll just mention this. I was reading an article where someone has published that they can do thin film pH measurement now. And when I say thin film, less than 1 millimeter aperture. So if you had like the size of a needle, if you could make an aperture or hole that size, they'd be able to measure the pH. And I thought, wow. I mean, if they're looking at being able to do that with some of the other measurements, there are crazy things we can still achieve in solving problems. Now that's amazing, Ahmad, and I'm really trusting that. As I've said to you, I'm going to come and visit you in the Middle East, hopefully in the next 6 weeks. But it would be part of our conversation is going to be to see if there's ways that we can cooperate, because I feel we need like-minded people working in the most difficult environments in the world. And in the parts of the world you work in, you've got subclass soils, you've got AC, DC, you've got temperatures above ground that can go 60, 70, 80 degrees. Anything that's in a metallic enclosure, the temperatures can go to 80 or 90 degrees for sustained period. And people have crazy ideas, like putting switch mode devices in places like this. They have crazy ideas of switching to thyristor controlled equipment with very sensitive electronics in these environments. Yes, it's possible, but there are limitations, and people don't consider these things. So I'm hoping that we're going to be able to go and still talk about those things. I know there are many more things for us to talk about, but let me move on to question 5. And I think you've answered it in part already. You said, why do you continue to present technical papers and you actually put yourself on a public platform? And when you start talking publicly, you open yourself to criticism. So, and to you go under a magnifying glass. So why do you do it?
So publishing papers is one of the most important things that everyone shall do. I believe that those papers will close some gaps between, again, the theoretical parts and the practical parts. Most of the paper that we usually propose based on a let's say a long time experiments that has been done through fields or through lab, maybe. And some of those papers has let's say challenge the standards that we are working on. And if we don't do this, basically we will still stuck on those standards, whatever they provided earlier. So I believe those papers, whenever we are publishing papers, this is challenging ourselves to excel more on those parts. Basically, let's say adding more accurate information to the standards, and plus providing other people a solution that they couldn't find it in the standards. I know this happened a lot. Basically, some people, they will face a major corrosion issue that they couldn't find a solution within the standard. However, other guys on other continent, they done an experiment on the same problem, practical experiment, and they found the solution for it. So I believe those papers can close a big gap between whatever we are reading on the standards and what's on the practical side. Plus, exposure yourself to criticism is a good thing for me, basically. I will not be all the time right track. However, if I kept my mind closed and only I kept the information for me, I will not benefit anything. I will share the information and listen to the criticism, which will provide me, let's say, better experience. Maybe the other guys who criticize me is correct in something. So I will take his advice and work on it, basically. And I believe this is what should be done. Nobody is correct 100%. And the papers will provide you this exposure that can provide you a better understanding to our field.
Oh, that's very good, Ahmed. I really appreciate that response, and well, to me, it's visible. So, to any of you that are listening to this conversation, you'll see in the bio, I'll give a link to Ahmed's LinkedIn profile. Please go over and visit him. You'll see his contact information there. He's making a major contribution for Sojek. He's making a major contribution in the context of Saudi Arabia. And he really, something that struck me with him from meeting him 14 years ago to now is that he's a man of integrity. He wants to do what's correct, not because someone's watching him, but because he follows science. He follows doing things because he believes he doesn't want to do harm to other people or people that could work on the pipelines that he's got designs on, or his own personnel that report to him could end up working there. So Ahmed, I want to thank you for spending time with me today. I want to thank you for the conversation. I'm going to leave this conversation. I'm going to go home. I'm going to tell my family I spoke to an amazing guy today that I know, and that's how you make me feel. So the friendship and you've been very kind to me, and so with this post, folks, listen, you'll see in the bio all this information. I'll add a few other things. But yeah, Ahmed, I don't know if you've got anything to say before we end our time together.
No, it was a pleasure again meeting you. The Bahrain was a pleasure also. We chatted a lot. I hope people will benefit from those interviews that you are doing. You are doing a great job on Monday Tech and Friday Bio. I hope that someday I will be able to do the same like you. But you are doing a great job. People, even from my environment, they are just getting a lot of information from your posts on LinkedIn, and hopefully everybody will follow you and take those posts and keep them. Somebody should keep those posts and share it as much as they can, because they are very informative and it can help everybody in this field.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Ahmed, you've actually become part of it. So you're part of this Friday Bio, and I'm going to be inviting you to join me in the new year. We will author some content together, and I'll just see what the topic is, but I'm going to invite you to, and it'll be something we'll do together. And hopefully it won't be the first or the last, and but there'll be more opportunities. So I just want to thank you for your time, and thank you I know it's late already for you at home, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.